AP item changes will bring a new look to the mid lane solo carries, Xin Zhao drops off the jungle list due to his nerfs, and the top lane solo carry list is looking a lot different as well. And it's no secret that League's ranking system is designed to trap you. It pulls you in with those games where everything clicks and you carry hard, only to balance it with frustrating matches that feel unwinnable from the start. This cycle keeps you grinding, hoping for change, but never quite breaking through. What most players don't realize is that escaping this cycle requires specific skills and strategies tailored to your exact rank. That's where SkillCapped comes in. We're the only service in this industry that has invested millions of dollars into identifying what actually works at every tier. Our challenger coaches have mapped out the best and most useful strategies that turn hard-stuck players into consistent climbers. And you can access all this expertise for less than $9 a month with our annual plan. We're so confident in our method that our business model depends on your success. Climb at least 5 divisions while actively using SkillCapped or claim a full refund. No questions asked. Stop wasting time on the ranked treadmill. Start climbing today with proven strategies designed specifically to break through your current rank. Check us out by clicking the link in the top right corner or in the description below. And with that being said, let's get into it. A bit of an under-the-radar change from 25.9 that is giving Malphite a lot more power right now was the Feats of Strength buff. The upgrade to plated steel caps being armored advance is even better for Malphite than most champs because his kit scales with armor and the upgrade provides you with 15 additional armor. So the fact that tier 3 boots are now only 500 gold instead of 750 makes armored advance an incredibly efficient pickup on Malphite for the mid game, and he's now an upper percentile solo queue pick because of it. If you can pick Malphite into a physical damage top lane champ, then he's just such a consistently strong champ. No matter the outcome of the laning phase, Malphite's kit allows him to be incredibly useful in team fights, so you don't even need to win lane on him to out-impact the enemy top laner in a lot of your games. There are just a few matchups you want to avoid when picking Malphite, those being AP matchups, but most specifically Sylas and Mordekaiser. Sylas is the typical counter pick that a lot of top laners will pull out if they see Malphite locked in, so he's who we'd recommend banning. The standard core build for Malphite consists of a Sunfire Rush into Thornmail 2nd and Frozen Heart 3rd. It's going to be Comet for your Keystone rune with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch, while Second Wind and Overgrowth are for secondaries. After being buffed for multiple patches in a row, Shen is finally in an incredibly strong spot for solo queue. It's almost as if Riot wanted for Shen to be meta with how many times they just kept buffing him. The Q buff was the one that really pushed things over the top, as it's added a bunch of additional damage to Shen's skirmish. Besides the fact that Shen has been heavily buffed, he also feels great to play right now with Titanic Hydra being in meta as his rush item. By rushing Titanic, you get earlier access to strong pushing power, as that's one of Shen's main weaknesses in his kit. None of Shen's abilities actually provide him with any AoE damage to help clear out minion waves, so Titanic Rush feels great to help alleviate that weakness. And it's actually ridiculous right now how heavily Inspiration Secondary is outperforming Domination. Majority of solo queue Shen players continue to run Domination Secondary, but Inspiration with Biscuits and Approach Velocity literally has a 4% better win rate, which is very significant. And then matchup-wise for Shen, Mordekaiser is always a solid ban choice, as Shen wants to play into champions who are more heavily reliant on auto-attacking to deal their damage, so that his W gets max value. But with Mord, he can just slap you around with his Q and whittle you down without needing to auto-attack. A mainstay of the solo carry list for the past few patches has been Set, and he rounds out the top 3 for top lane. Malphite is the best tank that you can play for top lane right now, while Set is the best fighter. Set is one of the most rewarding top laners to get really good at because his kit allows for you to completely stomp when you're ahead. If Set gets ahead in lane, his point-and-click damage is going to be enough for him to straight up outduel his opponents, while good W usage can have you winning 1v2 fights with ease. We also just saw Ignite buffs in 25.9, as it provides more damage level 6 onwards, so the all-in threat of Set at level 6 has become better. Running Ignite and combined with all of Set's point-and-click damage lets you stat check enemies super easy with a lead. And if you guys are looking to learn Set, our challenger top laner Strompist has a new full game commentary for the champ just released on our website. The build for Set is going to consist of a Stridebreaker Rush into Hullbreaker 2nd and Overlord's Bloodmail 3rd. Grab Conqueror for the Keystone rune with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, followed by Second Wind and Overgrowth for secondaries. It's going to be ranged top laners who you'll run into most issues against when playing Set, so banning Kennen or Vayne is never a bad idea. So with the nerf to Xin Zhao for this patch, Jarvan is going to be holding the throne as the best ganking jungler for solo queue. It's not just Xin Zhao either. We're seeing Nefiri, Vi, and Kayn getting weaker for this patch too, so it gives Jarvan even more relative power. If you're wanting someone who has the potential to impact the early game better than most junglers, then Jarvan is the play for 25.10. Other than his ability to impact the early game extremely well, Jarvan's long-range engage threat is so powerful for solo queue. Finding picks on enemies that are out of position is the best way for you to solo carry games, and Jarvan can do this better than most champs. In the mid game, just being around objectives at least 30 seconds before they spawn and looking for opportunities to engage if the enemy team is split up will lead to great success with Jarvan. It's never a bad idea to ban out a meta peel support when picking Jarvan, as they can do a good job at limiting your engage strength, so either Braum or Lulu are the best options right now. Optimal core build build for Jarvan consists of an Eclipse Rush into Sundered Sky second and tanky from then on out. The rune page will revolve around Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace, while Freeboots and Cosmic Insight are for secondaries. So with Xin Zhao dropping out of the top 3 and a bunch of other junglers nerfed as well, Nocturne is going to be a really nice pickup for 25.10. Noc has been hanging around as one of the better junglers for the past few patches, but the changes this patch will push him into top tier territory. Noc and Jarvan both have similar strengths in the mid game, as their catch power is what sets them apart. Being able to pull the trigger and snap engage with Nocturne as soon as you see that your team has the numbers advantage, or as soon as you see an enemy completely split off from your team, is such a luxury to have and gives you so much impact over games. With Nocturne, his early game gank power is definitely not as good as Jarvan's, and a lot of the time you will be playing to full clear. In order to get the most out of Noc, being able to clear your jungle as efficiently as possible is very important, and our new Jungle Clear course on our website is a great resource to have you mastering your clears in no time. Your ban when picking Nocturne is generally going to be best used on a meta peel support, so either Lulu or Braum are your best options right now. The build for Nocturne has you rushing Stridebreaker, going Hexplate second, and Black Cleaver third. Roll with Conqueror for the Keystone rune, followed by Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, while Grizzly, Mementos, and Ultimate Hunter are for secondaries. And then a newcomer to the jungle top 3 for this patch, who's receiving massive indirect buffs due to the AP item changes, is Echo. So Echo is one of the few champs who heavily benefits from multiple AP item changes, as Rocket Belt, Lichbane, and Nashor's Tooth have all become stronger. It's no secret that Echo's mid-game spike when he completes 2 items is absolutely godlike, and he's now able to reach that spike way faster. Lichbane is 300 gold cheaper, while Nashor's Tooth is 100 gold cheaper, so 400 less gold off his 2-item core is absolutely amazing. And the best part of all is that those items aren't even losing any efficiency either for being cheaper in price. Lichbane AP is dropping from 115 to 100, but since 15 AP is worth 300 gold, cost going down for less AP is a great trade-off in this instance. Nashor's is just straight buffed with the cost change, so it's actually gaining in gold efficiency for 25.10. Oh, and then on top of this, Rabadon's is even cheaper by 100 gold now too, so Echo's complete 3-item core that he wants to run in the majority of his games has just become 500 gold less expensive, which is quite significant. So you want to be rushing Nashor's, going Lichbane second, and then picking up Rabadon's third. The rune page is Dark Harvest with Sudden Impact, Sixth Sense, and Treasure Hunter, followed by Freeboots and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. Champions who do a good job at now allowing you to proc your passive are who Echo struggle against the most, and Shaco is one of those matchups that Echo has a pretty bad win rate against right now, so he's a good ban to consider. So fresh off what turned out to be massive buffs from 25.9 and back in a great spot for mid lane is Annie. Annie went from being a subpar 47% win rate champ in 25.8 all the way up to above 52% due to the buffs from 25.9, so she's a really great pickup right now. Direct buffs aside, Annie actually really benefits from that Ignite buff from 25.9 as well because of how strong her level 6 all-in power is. Malignance is buffed for this patch, while Annie does not run Leandries in her core build, so compared to a lot of mid lane champs, she's way better off due to the item changes. Leandries is the only AP item that has been flat out nerfed, so many other mages will be negatively influenced by that change, while Annie walks away unscathed. The core build that you should be running on Annie consists of a Malignance Rush into Storm Surge second and Rabadon's third. Matchup wise for Annie, since she is shorter range, champs who can zone her from a distance are who you will struggle more against, so banning out either Syndra or Orianna is good value. For the rune page, look to grab Electrocute with Cheap Shot, Grizzly Mementos, and Relentless Hunter, followed by Axiom Arcanist and Absolute Focus for secondaries. A mid lane champ who's been in a great spot recently who only gets better due to the AP item buffs is Diana. Diana is one of the few champs who can actually benefit from multiple AP item buffs, as Rocket Belt, Lichbane, Nashor's, and Rabadon's are all viable on her. It's honestly tough to say which build will be the most optimal for Diana in 25.10, but there's no doubt that she'll be in a great spot. If you wanted to play for more of a heavy side lane setup, then Lichbane into Nashor's is so much better, being 400 gold cheaper. For more teamfight impact, you could go Rocket Belt into Shadow Flame. For maximum one-shot power, a Storm Surge into Shadow Flame core will be viable. So there's just a ton of potential build paths that should work great for Diana in 25.10. It's just going to be a matter of figuring out if there's one setup that ends up being the most optimal. Something that makes Diana so great for solo queue is that she's one of the few assassins who can actually hold her own quite well early on in lane. You have the range with Q, so you can CS from a distance, while your W shield allows you to absorb enemies' poke. This lets you reach level 3 without getting chunked out, and from level 3 onwards is where you can be more aggressive, looking to punish enemies if they waste cooldowns. There isn't really a must-ban matchup for Diana, but Yasuo could be more difficult to play into due to the fact his wind wall can block your Q, which then prevents you from getting the reset on E and really limiting your damage output in a skirmish. The meta rune page for Diana has you taking Electrocute with Sudden Impact, Grizzly Mementos, and Treasure Hunter, followed by Shield Bash and Bone Plating for secondaries. With the Lichbane changes this patch, champs who can rush the item are going to be feeling so much better, and Katarina is going to be back in an amazing spot. It's not just the cost of Lichbane that went down by 300 gold, but its recipe was changed as well. Instead of needing to purchase a needlessly large Large Rod, which felt so bad due to it costing 1200 gold, Large Rod is gone from the build path, and taking its place is a Blasting Wand. This will make the early game feel so much better because you won't run into those awkward base timers where you're sitting on over 900 gold and can't purchase anything. If you get ahead in lane, you'll be able to spend your gold more efficiently and snowball harder with an advantage. So for the core build on Katarina, it's a Lichbane Rush into Shadowflame second and Zanya's or Rabadon's third. Best ban for Katarina is Galio, as it's incredibly difficult to snowball off of him due to his tankiness and easy to land CC. For Kat's rune page, take Electrocute with Sudden Impact, Grizzly Mementos, and Relentless Hunter, followed by Triumph and Coup de Grace for secondaries. So heading down to the bot lane, it's a very light patch for the role, so Jinx is going to remain in the top 3. Jinx's kit just allows her to solo carry games better than most ADCs, as her passive is one of the most powerful out of any ADC. When it comes down to a mid-game teamfight ADC, Jinx brings so much to the table. 2-item core of Yuntal and Infinity Edge allows her to hit incredibly hard, and if you can get that first takedown in a fight to proc your passive, the cleanup power is insane with Yuntal's passive attack speed combined with Jinx's passive attack speed. If you've got an enchanter by your side, then the mid to late game impact becomes even more ridiculous, as Jinx is winning over 53% of the time when paired up with Lulu, Melio, Nami, Soraka, Janna, and Sona. Braum is actually her highest win rate duo right now at over 55%, and the combo is just insane right now, with both champs being super strong in meta combined with the chain CC potential that a Braum stun into Jinx Flame Chompers has. When it comes down to who you should ban when picking Jinx, getting rid of a meta dive champ is always a good idea, and either Zed or Jarvan are two great options right now. Rune page for Jinx consists of Lethal Tempo with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Cutdown, followed by Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm for secondaries. What's so great about the current ADC meta is that many of the top tier picks are much less team reliant, and Tristana is one of them. The all-in power of Tristana is incredible, especially when she hits level 6 because of her gap close with W and burst potential from E and R. There are few ADCs who can match the DPS of a Tristana at level 6, so you can really punish enemies for wasting spells better than the majority of ADCs. Trist is a bit of a unicorn in the sense that her early game kill threat is great, but her scaling power is amazing too, so she doesn't have any glaring flaws that hold her back. A lot of the time, it's just over-aggression that can lead to you throwing games on Trist, so being able to walk that fine line of knowing when to dive headfirst into a fight and when to sit back and auto from range is the most difficult part of mastering Tristana. For the build on Trist, you can rush either Yuntal or the Collector. Yuntal is your ideal purchase if you can base on 1300 gold. If you base with less than 1300 gold and don't have enough for that BF sword, then it opens up a window for you to consider the Collector. The thing you have to keep in mind is that Yuntal will heavily outscale the Collector when you're on 2 items. So in order for the Collector to be worth the purchase, you really need to be able to leverage its early game strength. So if you're ahead early on in lane and base with less than 1300 gold, that's where the Collector rush would be most optimal. If you're in a lane state where you're behind though and don't think you'll be able to play aggressive, holding out for Yuntal even if you base on less than 1300 gold would be ideal. And of course, we know all of this because of our new ADC itemization course that has been released on our website, where you get in-depth build breakdowns for every single ADC. So if you never want to build wrong on your ADCs again, then definitely check it out. Since Trist wants to be the aggressor in lane, banning out a support who can match that aggression and nullify your early game all-in power is a good idea, and in that case, Karma is a good choice. Press the Attack and Lethal Tempo are performing at very similar rates in solo queue, so choosing between the two based on who your support is playing is often a great way to go about it. PTA will be best if you're with an aggressive melee engaged support or a mage support, while Lethal Tempo slots in better with enchanters. ADC is the only role where we don't have any changes to the top 3 from last patch to now, as Lucian is rounding it out. This is just a great meta to solo carry with ADC because Lucian is amazing at making plays happen on his own. Lucian R in the mid game can be so punishing if used at the correct times, as just chunking out an enemy high priority target and giving your team the health advantage going into a big objective can be game winning. The catch power that Lucian has with his E into R is even more incredible right now due to the fact his meta build consists of Essence Reaver into Infinity Edge. You just get so much AD from that setup, which allows for Lucian's upfront burst to hit super hard, and you can really capitalize on enemy squishies being out of position. Since Lucian is a shorter ranged ADC pre-6, banning out a longer ranged ADC like Ashe so that you can get past the early game easier is a good idea. The optimal rune page for Lucian has you running Press the Attack with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Cutdown, while Free Boots and Biscuits are for secondaries. Now that Fiddle is nerfed for 25.10, it's very likely that Braum takes back his spot as the best solo queue support. Braum has been great for a while now, but got even better last patch with the buff to Unflinching and buff to the cost of tier 3 boots. What makes Braum so great for solo queue is his incredible skirmish. There's really no better support when it comes down to fighting those 3v3s early on, as the CC that Braum can apply, combined with the gross amount of damage he can block, gives his team a huge edge up. You also want to be taking heal for your secondary summoner spell on Braum, and it just adds to your durability even more. The only ADCs that you really want to avoid picking Braum with right now are Ezreal and Jhin. Ezreal is just super weak when in the hands of an average player, so you honestly want to avoid him regardless of what support you're picking, whereas with Jhin, his slow auto attacks just just have really bad synergy with Brahm's passive. Longer range supports who can poke you out in lane are who you want to avoid when picking Braum, so banning out Senna is a good idea. The best build for Braum consists of a Locket Rush into Knight's Vow second, while Solstice Slay is the item upgrade. For Braum's rune page, look to grab Guardian with Font of Life, Bone Plating, and Unflinching, followed by Biscuits and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. Coming off her buffs from last patch, Leona is now trailing right in behind Braum as one of the best melee engaged supports. Buffs aside, this meta we're seeing for ADCs right now is just phenomenal for Leona. We're seeing Jinx, Trist, Lucian, Kai'Sa, and Miss Fortune as 5 of the most played ADCs, and all of them have incredible synergy with Leona. Leona wants to play with ADCs who can either follow up from range or dash in when she finds a pick, and every single one of those ADCs can do that. It's important to get your build right when picking Leona, as Bloodsong heavily outperforms as her item upgrade, but is being played much less than Celestial opposition. Celestial can be good value if the enemy comp has a lot of burst, but if they're more consistent damage threats, then definitely prioritize Bloodsong. Locket and Knight's Vow will be your standard 2-item core on Leona. By far the best ban right now if you intend on picking Leona is Braum, as he really limits Leona's pick power. For Leona's rune page, you should be taking Aftershock with Font of Life, Bone Plating, and Unflinching, while Biscuits and Cosmic Insight are for secondaries. And to round out the top 3 for support for this patch, we've got Sona. Sona is currently the best enchanter for solo queue, as we're seeing yet another patch of Lulu nerfs, while Sona was just recently buffed. With that Q buff to Sona, players who are maxing the spell out first are winning 54% of the time, which is just insane as opposed to W max players who are only at 51%. Maxing Q out first is definitely the way to go for solo queue, as you can actually end up dealing a very respectable amount of damage with Sona. You want to take Bloodsong for the item upgrade instead of Dreammaker so that your damage output is even higher. Sona's only bigger weakness is the fact that she can be more vulnerable in lane when playing into a melee engaged support, so using your ban on a meta champ like Leona or Nautilus is a good idea. Once you reach the mid game though, if you're even or ahead, the impact Sona brings to team fights is unmatched. You not only have the amazing utility from W and E to keep your teammates alive, but the engaged threat with R allows for you to find catch plays and be the aggressor, which not a lot of other enchanters can do. And then for Sona's rune page, you want to take Airy with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Gathering Storm, while Conditioning and Revitalize are the best secondaries. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So that's going to be all for this one guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.